Time to cross the T's and dot the I's of the rest of the week's top stories. And with us now, radio talk show host Leslie Marshall, attorney Joey Jackson, and from Fox News, Jamie Colby. And first, let's start off here with these stories about home sales this week. We had two reports out. We had the existing home sales as opposed to the unexisting homes. You know, that's a funny name, but it's the resale market. It was down the lowest in 9 years, and then the new home sales plunged to a record low in February. So, Joey, are we going into a double dip on housing?
It's difficult, and it just may be. Now, here's the point. The point is it's about jobs, jobs, and jobs. You know, sort of like when you create a business, it's about location, location, location. And so, look, we're not going to drive off the cliff yet. Some would argue we are off the cliff. I would choose to be optimistic. I think we're coming back. As we see the job market increase and people get more jobs in the private sector, I think we'll get a stronger housing market that'll come along with it. So,
Jamie, I saw one analyst who was trying to plot this out and said it's not going to start, the minus signs are still coming for the next 2 years, and it'll be until 2015 before we get any kind of real recovery. You agree?
If 2015.
Yeah.
The good news is that there are more cash buyers in the market. They were up 33% in February for existing homes. So if you're sitting with your home and trying to sell it, there could be someone out there with cash. The other good news is that the robo-signing that went on with the banks that allowed these foreclosures to move forward, where sometimes these homeowners should not have been foreclosed on, they're getting to buy some time and hold on to their homes, because now the banks have to really substantiate that the house and the loan is ripe for foreclosure. I think that we're seeing an improvement. The jobs are important. There's no question. If you don't have a job, you can't pay your loan. You're not going to buy a house.
Right.
You can't relocate for a new job if you can't sell your house. But I agree with you, Tom. We are looking at a very long and difficult road for housing.
Leslie, you're in Los Angeles, and you know, California really hit. So not only are the question is, what's the latest in Los Angeles, but the other question is, are people able to sell? Because you may be underwater. How are you going to, you may want to sell, you may want to move, you may want to move up, you may want to do a lot of things, but you're stuck, aren't you?
Well, a lot of us, I have to tell you, I'm not selling my home, but if I were to, I'm upside down. And a lot of my neighbors have either foreclosed or done short sales, and that makes you further upside down. But one of the problems, I'll agree actually both of the people to a degree on your panel. First, I would say 2013 are what I'm hearing economists say, and I'm certainly hoping for that, even though I'm normally a pessimist, Tom. And of course it is jobs, and we do have job growth, but it's not as fast as we or anyone would like here in California or the rest of the country. But another problem is companies, and I'm sorry, Bank of America, because you have my mortgage, Mr. Moynihan, but you know, when a government gives you money and you're posting profits and you're not lending people money, that's why the cash sales are so good throughout the country. It's because people can't borrow the money to buy these homes. So at some point the banks have to start lending in order for the people to be buying. That has to go hand in hand with the job growth.
Leslie and I agree. Listen to this. You and I are on the same page.
I haven't had my coffee yet, Tom. Maybe that's why.
Tom, we got into trouble because the banks were too loose. They were giving loans without people actually having homes appraised.
It's another whole show about the Fed. 100%. The Fed, too, if they would change paying interest rates on these deposits that the banks have, maybe the banks would lend money to us. I got another question, though, about gas prices, because we keep talking about this. We keep watching the prices go up. A lot of places out there are seeing, there they are, well over, whoa, $4.99. They're over $4 in many parts of the country. So my question, Jamie, we'll start with you. At what price do you stop driving? In other words, we saw this before where the demand starts dropping and then the prices will start dropping.
You know what I'm paying for gas right now? Zero, Tom, because I'm lucky enough to live in New York and I don't have a car. I think people should reevaluate mass transit and leave it to someone else to pay for fuel. The other thing is, a lot of people are asking me, because they hear me report on Libya and we were in Iraq and they said we were there for oil. Many skeptics say that's why we go to war in the first place, and we're not getting that oil necessarily. I went back and looked at Iraq, and there's so much untapped resources that I think alternative energy, there's never been a better time for it. I would like to see that, or drive a hybrid.
All right, let's go. Well, Leslie, we know that in Los Angeles, it's just the opposite. You don't go a block without getting in your car. So, you're well over $4, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I'll tell you, 4 freeways in 2 hours to get here in gridlock this morning. There's no way most of us here in Southern California can take public transportation. And being somebody who's lived in New York and from Boston originally, a Northeastern girl, I miss the ability to have those options. But there are options, and the options are either purchasing hybrid vehicles, more of those out there. This could be good for the auto industry in the future, electric vehicles, or quite frankly, Tom, why don't we use our power? The oil companies are posting profits, and you know, they had a movie out here called A Day Without a Mexican. How many days without people buying gas before the oil industry goes, we'll lower those prices regardless of the unrest in Libya and the rest of the
you're
Middle
the perfect
East.
example of somebody who has to you have to buy gas, and that's the question, is at what point what point are you going to stop? You can't.
Well, I have options though, because I don't drive a hybrid vehicle, and I do have options to look into that, or an electric vehicle here in an area where there's not as much mass transportation.
You'll be getting calls from the car dealers next, I'm sure. Joey?
Listen, I'm with Jamie. I'm with Jamie. I'm getting rid of the car now. Mass transportation, that's the way to go. But listen, the other issue is this. Look, necessity, as it's been said a million times, is the mother of all invention. Now's about the time that we look to alternative fuel sources or energy sources in general and stop this reliance upon this oil, particularly when you look at the region, and there's 27% of all the world's oil comes from that region, and there's so much instability.
I would love to, but we're not ready to flip the switch. The technology isn't there.
The president has gone to so many manufacturing plants of alternative energy sources and talked about what a boon it would be for the economy, how many jobs would be created, how great it would be for our children's future. Why isn't it happening?
It's a small percent. I don't think the technology is there, but we're waiting for a new invention. All right, last one is the how dumb are we?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, Newsweek came out with, they had the 1,000 Americans, the U.S. Citizenship Test. 38% of them failed. 29% could not name the vice president.
Think for a minute.
Name again. Joe.
George Bush, isn't it?
Yeah. Leslie, how dumb are we? What's the deal? Why don't we know Joe Biden's name?
Well, I think, honestly, because too many of us care about American Idol or who the biggest loser is, and I'm not talking about a politician, Tom. I have to admit, I wanted to see how tough is this test. And if you guys looked over the questions, it's sort of like, you know, well, what colors are the flag? And then it's like, what colors are the flag? 2 questions later. There are a lot of repetitive questions. I got 100%, by the way, and I was born here, so somebody did something right in the public school system for Leslie Marshall, okay? But this is a sad, not only reflection of people, you know, in this country. You know, I'm kind of wondering the people taking the test getting into this country. You know, we're not either absorbing what we learned in the schools, not teaching the right thing in the schools, or again, caring too much about pop culture versus American history.
Well, I think you touched on something, Joey. I mean, I'm concerned that the schools have gotten, they've taken on so many different responsibilities that they forgot the 3 R's.
They have to some degree, but here's the other point to this, and here's what I would argue, not to justify or excuse, but Leslie, you mentioned American Idol. There's a preoccupation with that. There's a preoccupation with pop culture because people are stressed out. People don't have jobs. They don't have opportunities. They don't have other things. So they have to turn to these things to ease their mind, to settle down and not worry about the basic things. I think people really know this stuff. They just don't focus enough so that they can know it when it comes time.
Really, Joey, really? If you read a newspaper, you pick up this information every day, and I know you do. You did very well on the test. Leslie, you got 100%. I have to brag. Joey did pretty well, too. We were testing each other. But I didn't see any questions about Charlie Sheen on the test. There were real questions. Correct. These are the things that people should know if they want to be citizens. I'm just shocked that you only have to answer 6 out of 10 questions right. There are 100 in there. I think to get in, you should have to answer every single one.
And they should take your citizenship away if you don't.
Uh-oh.
How about that?
Pack our bags.
All right, now we got an immigration issue problem. Leslie, thank you. Joey, Jamie, thank you all very much.